Good evening. This is your Dungeon Master, Bilbo here, and I am coming to you for my next Being a Dungeon Master Class 101. This is Session 2. What I call is Prepping for the Game. So this here is a series that I'm doing on being a dungeon master here. And this year is the second session I had. I put out a session a few weeks back on KISS, and that was Keep It Simple Smarty, and which I suggest how DMing for suggest for a DM, let me take that back here. What I suggest to start DMing was with a pre-made one-shot adventure, which should be about 3 to 6 hours of playtime. Second, start off a one-shot with first level or low-level characters, so you don't have to worry too much about the rules, and players don't have to uh, know a lot also about their spells, their abilities. It's easier to understand. You don't have to be an expert at the rules to start DMing. You just have to get out there and do it and have fun doing it. I recommended you start with 3 to 5 players as a new DM, and the most important thing of all, of course, is have fun. So what's next? So now I'm going to kind of going to what I do is prep time. So you've read this your one shot adventure like 3 times as I suggested. So you kind of have it down. You have your 3 to 5 players. Hopefully they've made characters before you get going, or you have a session 0 where you guys all get together and do that and make sure the group is aligned with what you want to do as a DM, as well as the players are going to get along too. That's very important. Um, but before I get into what I call as the prep time, this my suggestions here. What I would suggest here is please don't take what I say as gospel. In fact, don't take anything out there that's out on YouTube or podcasts or blogs from other DMs or GMs out there and think, oh, I have to do it their way, or else. Do what you feel comfortable with as a DM or a GM. And like I said, have fun doing it. As a DM that's been doing this for 40 years, I've changed things how I do multiple times over the year. I'm always trying to get better. I read a lot. I listen to a lot of other DMs and GMs out there. I'm always trying to improve my DMing skills. And I've been doing this for 40 years. And by far, I am not perfect at all. And I don't think there is anybody out there that is a perfect dungeon master or game master. I think we all have, you know, ways to improve our game, and can be anything from role playing your NPCs better, storytelling, how you run combat, how you come up with ideas on the fly. It's a variety of things. Some people are really good at one thing, and they're really poor at something else. And the next dungeon master can be really good at coming up with ideas on the fly, but not great at role playing as NPCs. It's always what you're trying to do is just improve as a dungeon master. But what really turns me off as a player of role playing games and as a DM is that if a DM's out there either writing a blog or out there on a podcast or YouTube video and saying that you have to do it their way. This is the way to do it. And if you're not DMing this way, you're DMing wrong. I think that's horrible. So so please don't take what I say as gospel, and you must do it my way. If if you're not having fun as a DM and your players are not having fun, then maybe you need to kind of take a look in the mirror, take a step back, and figure out what you're doing. But if you're having fun as a DM and your players are having fun, then everything is great. And personally, I've taken breaks over the years, and each time I do, I come back. At least I think as a better DM than in the past. And sometimes I'll take a break from DMing and try sitting down as a player. Other times I just may just completely, take a break from anything gaming and just get away. So let me go back here to the prep. What I really want to talk about. This is what I do. Like I said, it's not gospel. This is some of the stuff I do for prep time. I do these tasks before I sit down with the group, or hopefully sit down with the group. Sometimes, life gets in the way. You're a little bit busy, and you don't get all this done. But I recognize when I have all this stuff done and ready to go, it keeps the game moving. I'm feeling good as a dungeon master because I'm prepared for my players, and I don't have to worry about anything in the game. I have a lot of fun DMing when I've done this beforehand, and the game moves quicker as I'm ready to DM out there. So, the first thing that I like doing is I start out with initiative cards. I build initiative cards for my player characters here. Here's one of the cards. And on these cards, I have the character's name, I'll have their hit points, their AC. And on here, I'm going to track. I have the spells. So here is Mardor, our cleric here. He's a war priest of Kavakai in my world of Hearthron. And so I have, how many first level spells he can cast, second, third, fourth level. And then also any things like he has special abilities, channel divinity, his bonus attack, anything like that I have on these cards. And of course, each character is different, and I put notes on these cards on what I want to track here. So I find these very useful. You can just go out and buy these at Office Max or Target or Walmart and just get a whole pack of them, and they're cheap. And I'll use different cards for different characters. Like NPCs, I'm going to use a smaller card. Mardor, I have a little bit bigger card, and then like Rafik, even a bigger card. So, and I prefer my player characters to be on this. I have more notes that I can put on these things. So I do prefer the bigger cards. I just had an older card for Mardor that I had in use before I had these big gigantic cards. But I like the big gigantic cards for my player characters, as well as some very detailed NPCs that I might have that I need to go with. So that's the first thing. I make sure I have all that. Like I said, record armor class, hit points, spell slots, luck, key points, any feats or abilities that might have limited uses. I also keep track of damage dice, or really what the average damage a character does. I'll explain the importance of tracking this later in another session when I talk about encounter creation. But I don't feel like this is important right now with when we're talking about low-level characters, first to fourth level. I don't really track at that point what's the average damage that that character can do in a round. I also record any abilities, proficiencies that I can possibly have a character use during the adventures. You want to give every character a chance to shine in each session if you can. Sometimes it's very easy just to have a character use one of their proficiencies to make that character shine for the session. This can be very rewarding for the player for taking a certain proficiency, something that not everybody takes. I like to reward for that. So I use these cards when we enter combat. So I like to keep track of how many hit points a character is down, what spell slots, luck, key, other abilities that they've used. I think this is good that a player as well as a DM tracks this stuff. Sometimes a player can get caught up in their actions. They forget to record damage when they get hit or didn't hear it, or they get excited that a spell worked and then they forgot to mark off that spell slot. So I just like tracking that and then just confirming along with the player. At certain times, this is what I have you as for damage. I've seen you've cast fourth level spells, just to confirm, during the game that we're both on track. Especially with my game, I take my time, and so if we don't finish an adventure right then and there, I can go back, when the next session and be confident, oh, this is what this character's already used. Because sometimes that player might forget. They might not record it. My group is spoiled that they know I'm recording this for them. Something I do. I also keep track of experience on a sheet using listing all the characters on a spreadsheet. And so I know there, there's, this is the thing. So I'm going to once again kind of go back to gospel and what I do and not what everybody else does, and it's fine however you do it. I know some DMs are out there that just raise up characters' levels when they feel like it, or if they're in a published adventure, it may tell them this is at this certain point, this is when you should raise the characters to this level, or they should be this level. And it's just something I don't do. And I'm not knocking DMs that do it, it's just I don't. For me, and this is my opinion, I just feel like I'm cheating my players if I don't track experience for them. And I have an accounting background. I love numbers. I love math. Like I said, I'm old school. I've been playing this for 40 years, and I've been tracking experience ever since, and I've never stopped. And I'm not going to. But I'm not knocking the people that don't do it. That's their game. They can do it the way they want to do it. I like giving experience for role playing, asking good questions, thinking outside the box, actions that really help the group, and of course, combat. And if one character is doing everything and the other 2 or 3 players are just sitting back, is it fair that they all level up at the same time? Like I said, this is my choice as a DM. My players over all the years respect the time and thought I give in reward and experience. I even reward experience for character backgrounds, player encouragement, or even when a player makes everybody just fall out laughing at the table. We're there to have a good time, and so I'll reward experience for that when it's justified. I used to use a spreadsheet, have it right next to me, and I could also write down any notes, giving them experience for each character. Then I moved into the computer world, and I would use an Excel sheet and have that up in front of me on a screen all the time. And now I actually record all my sessions, and I just go back and listen to the session maybe the next day or that week, and I still track that experience, through an Excel sheet, and just then total it up, and then usually give it to my players before we play, or maybe I'll have a couple sessions where I've been listening to and I'm not ready to reward them and no one's gone up a level yet. So I just keep track of it until I feel that it's justified to give them. But I record it all and give it to them, and I let the whole group. And this is something I just started doing this year, and really when we started going online, or maybe a little bit before, but pretty close to when we started recording our sessions, I started sharing experience for what everybody did in the group. So there was total transparency with my players now, so they can see what they earned for just one showing up, game involvement, combat, role playing, anything that I thought was clever, or maybe some certain special role playing situation that I really liked. I'll call that out and note that. Then I total it up for the characters. If somebody goes up a level, I'll say now 6th level or now 10th level. And usually at the header, I will even say, hey, congratulate Rafik for going to 10th level, or Garther for now making 10th level. So those things, I'll call out. I'll also even say everybody is, if I notice everybody's about 4,000 away or something for the next level, or a few thousand, I'll even say that too. Everybody's close to going up a level. So I have all that, and I think my players really like that, that I'm doing that there for them. So uh, as a DM tip, I recommend you record your sessions. You don't have to put them out on YouTube, or and you don't have to videotape them. If you just have a recorder with your phones nowadays, anything, just record your session, go back, listen to it later. This will also help you improve on your DMing skills. You're going to hear things. There's sessions where I've personally gone back and go, wow, I really rushed that session. I wish I would have slowed down. I went too fast. I didn't give out some details. Or things like, oh, I forgot about that detail. I forgot about casting that spell with that NPC, the monster there. I forgot about that ability. So there's things that I pick up, or even things as a dungeon master I don't pick up, where it's like, oh, that spell requires something special and the characters didn't do that. Okay, so now I know for going forward, okay, I need to do that. It's weird at first listening to your own voice. I'll admit that. But you get used to it. Now it doesn't bother me at all. I think I've been doing this now for about 8 months now, I think, recording our sessions. And, I love it now. So, and anything that I missed too, that I didn't write down, maybe a certain NPC note that there's something I described that now I know confidently I have it recorded. I can go back and put some more detail behind maybe a certain area, or a city or town, or NPC, any of those things. So the next thing I do is I create initiative cards for any encounters that the characters are going to fight in that session. So here I roll initiative for the encounter before we even play. And so I have that all written up. If there are different types of monster, say a boss in an encounter, I roll up initiative for each group of that encounter. Then once the characters enter into combat, I have the players roll initiative, put all the encounters and characters in the highest to lowest order of action. So I have that going, and so we get right into combat. On encounter initiative cards, I record the AC, the hit points, movement, speed, saving throws, attack modifiers, damage dice, any special abilities or spells the encounters can do, the creature rating for experience. This way, I never usually have to crack open the monster manual during combat. For most encounters, I just use the small index cards. Like I said, if it's a bigger encounter, I'll use a bigger card, especially if it's a boss encounter where I have a lot of special things that they might have. I'll do that. So I have that. I have all my initiative cards all set. I have my experience sheet all set up, marching order. Now, I use miniatures. And I have used miniatures since I started playing 40 years ago. You don't have to use miniatures. You can play with theater of the mind, which is great. When I was younger or I didn't have access to miniatures, I would play theater of the mind as well. But I love drawing out maps. I love using figures. If you don't want to buy figures, you can use counters. We used coins at one time when I was younger. There is paper miniatures that you can print out. There's flat plastic miniatures. Figures are expensive. They take up a lot of space. But like I said, I've been doing this since I started. I even have an elven army in my garage back behind me that has a whole elven army in boxes that I used for Middle Earth battles when I was a teenager playing that up at my local game store. Paper and flat plastic miniatures don't take up a lot of space, and they're pretty cheap. In fact, I love the plastic miniatures that Arknight puts out. I'm actually backing one of their Kickstarters right now, and can't wait till that comes out to get those plastic minis. So I like to use both, and there's some cool paper ones I've seen out there too that you can just print off yourself. So I feel the best thing to do is if you're using a map or a battle mat like I have here, I like to draw out them before the session takes place. Now, I used to draw them as we would game a lot of times. When I go around the corner, I'd draw this part out, or if they were in a dungeon, say, then drawing that out on the battle map or whatever they were. But I have felt like that just takes away time from the game and the interaction. So now I like drawing this stuff out in advance. Usually takes me an hour, maybe two, to draw them out. You can use a battle mat like I have, or I have some graph paper here where the Grey Guardians are standing. And that took me probably, 30 minutes to draw out that whole cave. And then I just can use paper and reveal sections off as the characters go. I love maps. My players love the detail I put into them. They like when I'm using crafting props that I might use. They see the work that I'm putting in the game, and they appreciate it, and that's a big thing. But do what you're comfortable with. If it's theater of the mind, perfect. If it's drawing out stuff, perfect. Using battle mats, props, fantasy grounds, D20, or anything else you might come up with. Do what makes you and your players happy. And of course, you can mix things up. One encounter you can do a theater of the mind, but maybe the next you want to draw it out on a map and you have some miniatures. You can do both. You don't have to go, oh, we're just theater of the mind. That's all we are. You can say, hey, we can draw this on out. Like I said, do what you want to do and just have fun doing it. So now I have my initiative cards, I have my experience worksheet, or what I call my marching order, even though it's not a marching order, it's just something I title it always. My maps, props, whatever type of miniatures I need for that encounters of that session, and my any miniatures that my players will use for their characters. I make sure I have my dice, pencils, markers, a notebook, some extra note cards, and I'm ready to DM the session. Now it's time to have some fun in DM. So that's what I do for prepping. My next couple of sessions, I will discuss starting an adventure and how I run a session from start to finish, or how I always plan to run a session start to finish. Please feel free to ask me questions out here on YouTube. If you have any questions or DMing assistance, feel free. Shoot me a note out here. Please like, subscribe to my channel if you like it. I'm a small channel trying to grow, and hopefully what I'm putting out there helps you as a new DM, or if you're thinking about DMing. It's scary, it is scary at first, but once you get doing it and just get your feet wet, you'll like it. Or if you don't, you can at least know, okay, no, this wasn't for me, and go back to being a player. Whatever it takes. So, like I said, please go out there, like, subscribe our videos. Look for the Grey Guardians out there. We've done, I think, 26 sessions now out there, and we actually just started a new group, Heroes of Anlin, and that is really more where we're online, and there is some more theater of the mind in that group, even though I still have some miniatures just as a base off to the side. It's more theater of the mind, but like I said, you can mix it up. This is your friendly DM, Bilbo, signing out. Have a great night. Remember, it's cool to be a geek. Happy DMing. Like I said, just get out there and try. You'll be amazed how much fun it is. Good night.